The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Burlington, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32502. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new fire apparatus. Starting down on the face of the front bumper, passenger side, is where you'll find dual speakers, electronic sirens. Moving to the driver's side face of the bumper, you'll find dual air horns. Moving to the bumper extension location on the side is where you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving up onto the top of the bumper, you'll find two attachment points, tow hooks. Located in the center, you'll find a tubbed storage location with a D-handle lid for hose storage. Moving to the driver's side front bumper extension, you'll find an 1.5-inch swivel discharge. Moving up onto the body, you'll find your headlight cluster housing your low and high beam headlights. Turn indicator. Moving up from that cluster is where you'll find your emergency warning light cluster. Just underneath the Pierce logo, you'll find the hood release for your Pierce Velocity. Moving up onto the windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across your seamless one-piece windshield. Moving down to the front section near the hinged section of the driver door is where you'll find a auto release for your air and also a auto release for your shore power. Here are some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. This is the tubbed storage location with dry deck at the bottom. Your headlight cluster in addition with your emergency warning light cluster. And then your front discharge swivel 1.5 inch. Let's move up to the brow of the apparatus. At the very top of the windshield, you'll find 5 running lights. Located in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving to the outer edges, you'll find 2 emergency light bars. Just inside of that light bar, over the operator's seat, you'll find your Opticom system. You'll also find 2 remote-controlled go lights. Inside the cab is the location of the control. And you'll also find on the tip of the ladder 4 tip lights. Also, you'll find your large diameter discharge. Let's take a look from a different angle here. On the side, this is going to be the passenger side, is where you'll find the release mechanism for removing the waterway to a lower section on the fly. Let's move down to the rear compartment. This is just behind the rear doors. You'll find additional storage on the passenger and driver side. Just behind that, you'll find backboard storage behind the 2 D-handled storage locations. Moving to your speed loads, you'll find first the yellow number 1 discharge. You'll also find a number 2 discharge, color-coded white and also yellow. And then you'll find your 2.5-inch discharge. You'll also find just beneath that this warning label regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from an elevated position, there is the likelihood of entanglement. You also find a warning label here regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing them. In addition, with a warning label not to ride on the side of the apparatus. And then at the very bottom, you'll find an additional warning label regarding only trained personnel should operate this equipment. Because this is an aerial device, there is a likely chance of electrocution, so that's why this danger label is here. And then down at the very bottom, you'll find your Pierce minimum maintenance schedule. Over on the right, the red placard is your wattress placard, indicating the type of pump that you have. And then down at the very bottom for your foam system, you'll find a warning label not to mix brands or different consistencies of foam. We're back up to the very top. This is the location of your dead lay. You also have a grab handle to go aloft into this area, along with steps that are fold down on the right-hand side. Once again, number 1, number 2, and the 2.5-inch crosslay, all color-coded. Let's now move to the upper left-hand corner of the image where you'll find your master aerial discharge valve. To the right of that, you'll find your vacuum and pressure test ports.
Moving further to the right, you'll find two gauges. First, the pump intake, and then to the right of that, you'll find the pump discharge. Moving all the way to the right-hand side, the next module is going to be your Pierce pressure governor. Moving down from that location, the red module is your Husky foam system. Moving further to the right, you'll find your tank fill recirculating line. As we move all the way down to the bottom, you'll find your tank to pump. Let's move back up next to the tank fill. You'll find this round black audible speaker. It does control volume by simply turning the bezel on the outer edge. That is an audible alarm. Just down from that, you'll find your engine cooler. It's a twist, not a pull. You'll also find your air horn, which is your red push button. Moving to the right of that location, you'll find the fire pump primer. You'll also find instructions just beneath that primer. There's also the number 1 driver's side discharge and number 2 driver's side discharge. Let's go ahead and cover some of the items here in this module. This is your Pierce pressure throttle governor. On the upper left, you'll find your check engine light. If lit, it'll be amber in color. To the right, you'll find the stop engine, which would be red if lit. And then in the middle, you'll find a digital readout for the RPMs. Orange is your menu button. There are 4 indications for engine information regarding oil pressure, water temperature, battery. To the right, you'll find the red silence button for audible alarms. You'll also find the ability to either select pressure mode or RPM mode. A digital readout in the middle, which will provide menu information. And then to the very far right, you'll find your throttle ready green indication. And then you also have the ability to preset certain pump pressures. At the very bottom, you'll find your throttle control and also a push button to move to idle. Please seek your owner's manual for information on how to operate and set your presets. Down at the very bottom, you'll find an additional audible speaker. Once again, turn the bezel to increase or decrease the sound. This is your Husky foam system. The green button is the on and off. You have the 2 gray buttons for increase or decrease. There is in the middle an orange prime button, status system on the right-hand side, and then your foam percentage is a digital readout. Let's move down. It was a little difficult seeing some of the other images here, but let's start up in the upper left. This is going to be your panel lights for the panel of the pump. Just beneath that, you'll find your pump engage. This is an indicator. If your pump is properly engaged, this light will illuminate. And down at the very bottom, you'll find your tip lights, which are on the tip of your ladder. Let's move further to the right-hand side. You'll find your reel rewind. And then all the way to the right, you'll find your water level indicator. This is for the water tank. Let's move down from this location. We'll talk about some of the items next. First, starting with your pump drain. Underneath the pump drain, you'll find your manual pump shift. There is a caution label to the right when you place your cab into neutral for going from road to pump. Please seek the owner's manual for more information. Inside this compartment, you'll find your foam operations. There is a yellow lever inside that is for your foam operations for fill or drain. And then you'll also find a twist foam drain. On the left-hand side, you'll find that yellow handle instructions. And then in the very back, you'll find the foam drain. This is your wattress plaque indicating that you have a CSU pump model, and it's also 1500 GPM. Down at the very bottom, you'll find a foam failure hazard that not to mixed brands or types of foam concentrate. And to the right, you'll find your draft foam tank. This is the fill mechanism and also the inlet. Here's a close-up of that wattress placard. Let's move down to the very bottom where we'll find your Pierce placard. This gives you your 150, 200, and 250 PSI test pressures. It also gives you your RPMs and GPMs, which are associated. To the right, you'll find your air outlet and also your air supply control. And then down at the very bottom, you'll find all your associated drains, which are color-coded and also labeled. Let's go back to the Pierce maintenance schedule. This is for the 150, 200, and 250 PSI. The GPMs are on the left-hand side. Your RPMs are on the right-hand side. You do have a governed speed of 1,970. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find your job number 32502. Let's move down to the section of your pump panel. This is the operation minimum maintenance schedule. And as we move to the right, you'll find additional information regarding your foam system instructions and also your Husky 3 foam system specifications. Let's move further to the right where you'll find a warning label here that only trained personnel should operate this equipment, and seek the owner's manual for more information. This is the placard regarding danger of electrocution. And as we move to the left, you'll find cross lays number 1, 2, the 2.5 inch, and also your front discharge. You'll also find your passenger side large diameter discharge in green. Moving to the right, you'll find your number 1 discharge. This is a 2.5 inch. And then just beneath that, you'll find the number 3 discharge, which is a 2.5 inch. This is an image of the backboard compartment in the open position. There is LED lighting inside. Just underneath that location is where you're going to find the foam pump discharge drain and also the foam pump intake drain. Let's move up to the very top. This is the cradle that holds the ladder in position. As we look to the rear section of this, you'll find your water tank, also your foam fill location, and also your hydraulic system for your foam system. As we move further down to the compartments now, you'll find at the very end of the black track is the release mechanism to allow that to be pulled outward. It also will allow you to restore it back to its original position. Let's move further to the right. You're going to find in these compartments, the blue cap is going to be your 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. In the upper right hand corner of this image is where you'll find bottle storage. There is also a retention strap for bottle safety. Down at the very bottom you'll find a marker light. Let's move now to the compartment over the rear wheels. This is a tool board compartment. You'll find the D handle to release the mechanism. Once it's pulled outward, it will lock in position. To restore it, there is a release mechanism on the hinged side. In between the two dual wheels, you'll find bottle storage. There are 4 bottle storage locations. The middle one tips upward. We're now to the section just behind the rear wheels is where you're going to find your silver cap. This is your ultra low sulfur diesel fuel and also a bottle storage location. In the very rear compartment, you'll find a pull-out shelf. The release mechanism is on the right. And down at the very bottom, you'll find your aerial device pads. There are some warning labels here on the side of this. Because of that piece of machinery is moving inward and outward, there is the possibility of crush, and there is also an indication that you should not ride on the side of the apparatus while it's in motion. To the very back, you'll find this danger sticker regarding electrocution. And then as we move into the ladder section, you'll find an access panel or module to gain access behind the diamond plate. Let's go ahead and move now to your ladder section. This is a 4-fly section. The very last section has fold down steps not only at the lower section but also at the tip. As we move through this, you'll also find additional markings on the right and left hand side of the ladder indicating the extension of the ladder. As we look to the pedestal, you'll also find additional warning labels here regarding electrocution and also crush injury because of the movement of that ladder mechanism. In the upper right hand corner, you're going to find your intercom system. As we move to the pedestal, at the face of the pedestal, you'll find some drop down pan-handled latches. These are going to be the controls for manual operations of your aerial device. Also, just underneath that section, you'll find the calibration module location. As we look inside the module area, you'll find on the left-hand side of the lid, caution, warning, and also danger labels. Please familiarize yourself with those prior to operation. Also, a caution label regarding your aerial must be out of the boom, supported before actively moving the nozzle or deploying the nozzle. Let's take a look at some of the other items here. First, in the upper right-hand corner of this image, you'll find the red push button for your emergency stop. You'll also find your Pierce command zone display, a tremendous amount of information available here at your fingertips. You'll also find nozzle control down in the lower left, and then you'll find your ladder controls on the right-hand side. Let's go over a couple of those items individually. First, let's start back up at the very top where the emergency stop is. You'll find your rung lights, tip lights, track lights, and also aerial speed and remote activation, and also your emergency hydraulic. Down in the lower section, ladder controls and nozzle control. In the pedestal lid, you'll also find additional information here regarding your Ascendant Aerial 107, waterway dry operations with a 50-mile wind condition, waterway charged with a 50-mile wind condition. You'll also find monitor nozzle positions, and then at the very bottom you'll also find capacities based on those conditions. In the left, you'll find the specifications for setup per NFPA 1911. This is an additional look here at the speaker system. There is a push-to-talk and also volume control. On the ladder itself, on the main bed, you'll find a negative 10 to 80 degree inclinometer. On the left-hand side, you're going to find an additional straight roof ladder, and on the right-hand side, you'll find additional storage location. Inside that storage location, you will find LED lighting. As we move to the midsection here at the last fly, you'll find the location for storing a axe. You'll also find these two fold-down steps at the very tip, and then you'll also find two chainsaw scabbards located also at the tip area. As we move forward of this location, you'll find your stream control. This is for left and right stream control, also raise and lower, and straight stream or fog. You'll also find the tip person's intercom system. There is a volume control, although it is actively passive. At the very top, you'll also find ladder controls. And as we move forward, you'll find your master stream device at the very top. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. We'll cover some of the items at the rear section of the apparatus. First, starting with some warning labels here regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing them. You'll also find a warning label here regarding anchor placement and how to properly anchor or utilize this anchor. You'll also find your aerial inlet, and just above that aerial inlet, you'll find a gauge regarding the aerial inlet pressure. To the right, you'll find an inclinometer. This is from right to left, depending from 0 to 15 degrees. You can see the green section, yellow, and then red section for operational purposes. Down on the right, you'll find your anchor point, and then further to the right, you'll find the aerial drain just behind this pan door. Let's take a look inside that door, where you'll find a ball valve. Just above that location, you'll also find the relief valve for the aerial inlet. As we look to the center section of your aerial down at the base, you'll find additional warning labels as you drop down this pan door. Warning regarding aerial stability. You'll also find caution and danger labels regarding electrocution, high pressure fluid hazards, and also the possibility of tip over or structural failure hazard. As we look inside this compartment, you'll find a couple of different things. First, black knobs, blue and green. They are color-coded and they are matching the description on the lower section of this pan door for the control mechanism. To the left, you'll find your stabilizer and also aerial emergency power switch. Switch the direction that you'd like to control. As we look to the inside, you'll also find additional hose storage location in the compartments, and also in the center, you'll find your ladder storage compartment of a complement of ground ladders. The indication as to the size are to the left-hand side of those links. For example, a 20-foot, a 10, and a 14-foot two-section roof. And to the right, you'll find your longer ladders. Also located near this section, you'll also find the control mechanism for your stabilizers. This is the emergency stop. Just to the right of that, you do have a protected override switch. Moving further to the right, you'll find an activation for your stabilizer power. And then further to the right, you'll find a diagnostic USB interface port. Just beneath that, you'll find the cable and also the control module for running your stabilizers. Let's move around now to the right side. This is going to be the passenger side of the apparatus. A couple of things. Because those, once again, stabilizers are moving in and out, you will find some warning labels here. In this compartment, you'll find a pull-out shelf and also adjustable shelving. Behind the rear wheels, you'll find two SCBA bottle storage locations. Just over the rear wheel, you'll find additional storage location and also an emergency light. As we look inside the compartment, you'll find LED lighting and also the ability for adjustable shelving if needed. In between the two reels, you'll find bottle storage. In addition, the center section does lift up for an additional fourth bottle in that location. As we move forward, you'll find once again LED lighting and adjustable shelving. As we move to the next compartment forward, just where the exhaust is located, you'll find a pull-out shelf. And since I mentioned the exhaust, be cautious as to where you park. The hot exhaust is extremely hot. Let's move now to the pump panel of your apparatus. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find once again a warning label regarding not to ride on the side of your apparatus. An additional warning label here because of those pressurized caps. Be cautious when opening them. And then as we move to the right, a hose entanglement warning because of those hoses coming off from an elevated position. We do have a pan door here. We'll talk about what's behind that in the next set of images. Let's move to the right. This is your large diameter intake. Moving further to the right and slightly above, you'll find the 2.5-inch discharge. This is on the passenger side. It is orange in color. Just beneath that, you'll find your large diameter discharge. This is green in color. And then as we move down just beneath that, you'll find the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female coupling. And then all the way down at the very bottom, you'll find all the associated drains color-coded and also labeled. Let's look inside the pan door. This is gains access behind the panel, so the panels not have to be removed to gain these modules. Just in the cab area, you'll find additional storage location with LED lighting. As we move forward to this location, you will find a bullet-style camera. This is for the passenger side. When the turn signal is activated, this camera will activate. As we look inside the cab of this, you'll find additional storage. But what I'd like to point out is at the very top, there was a switch, or is a switch rather, that will light those individual cabinets. Also located in the center back of the motor is where you're going to find your fluid level for all of your transmission and oil dipsticks. This is the compartment light. As we look to the very rear, you'll find two SCBA style bottled seats. And as we move to the very front of the apparatus, at all points of entry, at all doors for personnel, you'll find this string of warning labels. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system. Please do not block anything or mount anything in this area. As we move through the compartment, you'll find at the very base of the officer seat an air horn and mechanical siren foot pedal. Moving up to the dash area, you'll find a siren brake push button. And then moving just left of this position, you'll find a 12-volt USB style charging position. And then in front of that, you'll find the vehicle data recorder port. Let's go ahead and look overhead of the officer seat. You're going to find your PA system and siren control on the far left. There is a panel of switches here, which we'll have a little bit more of a better image of in a few moments. And then to the right, you'll find the control module for the Go light directly over the officer seat. Once again, this is your Whelen siren and also PA control module. Moving to the right of that location, you'll find your push buttons. At the very top, these are programmable switches, so those are all blank currently at the time. You do have a front flood, passenger side flood, and driver side flood. When those switches are activated, they will indicate by turning green. Let's move slightly to the right. This is the control module for your spotlight above the apparatus. This is your Go light. You'll also find this puck style light. This is an indication if you have a compartment door open or ajar, this will flash and do not move your apparatus. As we're now to the driver's section, you'll find a few warning labels here. You'll also find at points of entry additional warning labels and also a warning label regarding seatbelts. Seatbelts in your apparatus are color-coded red for easy visibility and identification if an individual has their seatbelts on. As we look to the very bottom at the base of the seat, you'll find your auto charge system. When plugged into shore power, this will activate. You'll also find at about the right ankle of the operator, your Pierce manufactured placard has the job number, date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight ratings, tire inflation pressure, VIN number, fluid capacities for the components, fluid capacity, and also fluid type. On about the left knee of the operator, you'll find your master battery switch. That's the quarter turn on off for the red switch here. Just beneath that, you'll find an additional control module panel, and I'll go over that next. And in the upper right-hand corner, just to the right of the steering column, you'll find your interaxial differential lock. Let's go over the control module here. You have tech module, display, engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic ports. These are the diagnostic ports for plugging into for gathering information. Just beneath that, you'll find your ABS diagnostics, regen inhibit, and also DPF regen. Moving to the right, this is your interaxial differential lock. When it is in the locked position, it will indicate red. As we move to the left of the column on the dash, you'll find your hazard lights. At the very bottom, the start switch and also ignition. To the right, you'll find an emergency master, which activates all of your emergency lights. To the right of that, you'll find the headlights and panel rocker dim switch. To the right, you'll find the high idle engaged for engaging your high idle. As we look at the components of the dash, on the left-hand side, you'll find your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temp. To the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air. In the center, you'll find your tachometer, speedometer, and then above and below, you'll find diagnostic information. To the left of this image, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake, push to release. To the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Once again, a tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. And also your Allison transmission pad with an indication to pump in drive. Let's go ahead and go over to the right-hand side where you'll find your aerial master, aerial PTO, differential lock, and also your load manager. Once again, these switches here will turn green in color when they have been activated. Let's move slightly to the right of this location and downward where you'll find your engine brake on and off, your engine brake settings for low, medium, and high, a future switch location, off-road traction, front wheel lock, and also your mirror heat. Once again, the three switches on the right will indicate green when actually indicated they're on. At the very top, you'll find your traffic advisor. Just beneath that, you'll find your pump transmission. This is going to be from either road to pump or pump to road. You need two green indicators on the left before exiting the cab for pump operations. Just above that location, you'll find your mirror control for the left and right mirror. And then just above that, you're going to find your climate control, which is your heat defrost, heat, and also AC front and rear. Overhead of the operator, you'll find your height, 11 feet, 11.12 inches. Length, 42 feet, 4.5 inches. Gross vehicle weight rating, 66,800 pounds. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle, please change this placard. Overhead of the operator is where you're going to find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning. The next section down, you'll find your lower rear warning, upper rear warning, Opticom control, and also your siren brake. Let's move slightly to the right of this location is where you're going to find your front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, rear flood, perimeter lights, future switch location, air horn, and your backup alarm override. Moving to the right, located directly over the operator's head, you'll find the Go Light control module. And then as we move to the center of the cab overhead, you'll find your seatbelt information sign. This is indicating that someone is in the seat. It's red. They are not buckled. If they were in the seat and buckled, it would be displaying green. This will depict for each seat in your apparatus. Behind the officer seat, you'll find, and also the driver's seat, you'll find a 12-volt block location for accessing 12-volt. General view here of the rear section of your cab. Let's take a look here behind the driver's seat. You'll find an audible speaker here for your unit radio. You'll also find a 12-volt block for additional 12-volt access. And then just beneath that, you'll find your battery tender. When plugged into shore power, this will activate. Congratulations, Burlington, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32502. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or any future information that is needed, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.